Glock, you ain't on nothing. Flex it like the Glock, boy, don't turn up.
Then, wham, I call my mama back. And she crying and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? What you crying for? You good? You know what I'm saying? She, ooh, they shot T-Roy. T-Roy got, now what? Now we calling around. What's going on? What's going on? He got hit one, some shit. Ooh. Oh, damn. What the fuck going on out there? I'm T-Roy got shot. Look, this is the thing. Y'all don't know T-Roy. Y'all gotta leave our history of T-Roy. Y'all don't know. T-Roy got the further. That's T-Roy. That's T-Roy. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Y'all don't know T-Roy like I know T-Roy. You know what I'm saying? So when I hear he get shot on, what the fuck he don't want to talk me like don't be lacking. Don't be, you know? He was on me. He used to be on each other. You know what I'm saying? Cause me and him, we back to back with my boy. You know what I'm saying?
Send me the paperwork. His name Davon Bennett. My name Raheem Brooklyn. Listen, his name Davon Bennett. My name Raheem Brooklyn. Look it up. Him and his brother told on me for slacking they homie. On Lil Brown. I just gave back 192 years to them niggas. I don't speak on that shit. Them niggas told on me, gang. I'm home right now because I blamed on my sister Kyra. Them niggas told on. Them niggas told. On Lil Brown. Lil Durk, them told. Lil Durk home right now because them niggas told. On Duck. I'm free right now. I just got back 192 years, gang. On Lil Brown. 192 years.
Well, why they post you on
no
all
flex.
the social media pages and say you was home?
Because I on Tuka,
Hold on.
Look, my sister Kyra Barnes did. They gave me 192 years for killing the motherfucker, and I blamed it on my dead sister.
Not K.I. and them and Cray Cray, they was in the gangway. They was in the gangway shooting dice. But K.I. was, her back was to the wall, the brick wall. And Cray Cray was towards us driving. So I tell the hype to stop so I could holler out the window, tell them, man, hey, look, somebody back there. Man, the hype kept going. He stepped on the gas, man. Nodded out, stepped on the gas and went over the hump. They emerged out the cut. I see Butta running. Butta hop over the fence. Running. Leg blew off. So when he got to 630, I'm like, keep driving. When I felt like I could get out to run and back to Butta and get him, that's what I did. Before the ambulance came, bro. When I put Butta in the car, Butta didn't even want to go to the hospital. I'm arguing with this man about going to the hospital. Man, I got a warrant. I'm like, is it a murder warrant, nigga? Go to the hospital. If you got a crackhead warrant, go to the hospital, bro. He like, nah, I don't want to go, man. I want to see my mama. So go ahead, mama's boy. You know, he probably down there died. He could have died from that leg shot, man, because his whole leg was blew off. Butta deserved to be here, man. I'm telling you, he ran for his life. They was behind him, and he ran. They was behind his ass, bro.
Yo, what's up, people? We is back. Another day on Keep It G News. Slide up a little bit, baby. Yo, in the day, everybody been saying this all over the internet. You got people breaking them down to like 10 videos. Because it's a lot of paperwork. And in this video, we're going to go through the war between STL, EBT, and O-Block. A war that started, per the feds, around 2011, 2012, man. This is 2023. We talking about a war that been going on for what? 11, 12 years now? A lot of people died. A lot of people got arrested. And in this video, that's what we dealing with, man. We dealing with the indictment of the O-Block members for the murder of FBG Duck. But in this paperwork, it's a lot of stuff. I'm talking about a lot of crimes being committed. A lot of cooperators. Some of them we know. Some of them we don't know. And in this video, I try to make it as detailed as possible. It actually took me hours, maybe a day, to even put all this stuff together, man. Straight up, yo. Because I ain't trying to penny pinch people. You know, that's what everybody doing on the internet. They want to penny pinch you, give you 5-minute segment here. Man, look, I'm ready to put it all in the video. And if you want to skip through it to the parts that's interesting, I think all of it is interesting for real. Because some of these guys, like I say, we know them. We know them well. Some of them wear face masks so you don't see their face, but this document uncovered everything. And that's why the clips that I played in the beginning was very important, man. Because these guys you seen in them clips in the beginning, it's going to be in this paperwork. Whether they hate it or love it, they in this paperwork, man. So, I ain't going to hold y'all up. Like I said, this is a very lengthy video. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more after y'all listen to the details. But let's ride. On the afternoon of August 4th, 2020, Carlton Weekly, who made music under the stage name FBG Duck, was shopping for clothes for his son's birthday in Milena Boutique on East Oak Street in the Gold Coast. At approximately 3:59 p.m., Ralph Turpin and a friend of Turpin entered into Milena's boutique and noticed Weekly. Weekly is a gangster disciple from the STL faction. Turpin did not like Weekly prior to August 4th, 2020, and knew to call rival Weekly's rival gang members who would come down to kill Weekly. As a result, as set forth in further detail below, Turpin made at least one phone call inside of Milena Boutique to Weekly's rival gang members to come downtown to kill Weekly. Approximately 3 minutes after Turpin entered Milena's boutique, at about 4:02, old black disciples who have been a deadly rival with STL gangster disciples began scrambling to make their way downtown. They departed their neighborhood at approximately 4:06 p.m. in 2 cars, with Kenneth Roberson, Charles Liggins, and Christopher Thomas inside of Roberson Gray Chrysler 300, into Carlos Alford and Marcus Smart inside of Alford's black Ford Fusion. By the time the 2 cars arrived on East Oak Street at 4:26 p.m., Weekly was standing outside of a different store, Dolce & Gabbana, waiting to go inside. A total of 4 shooters, 2 from each car, exited and fired 38 times in 12 seconds, hitting Weekly 16 times. The person standing behind Weekly in line 3 times, victim 1, and Weekly's friend, who was in her car 2 times, victim 2. Turpin was standing across the street on the phone watching as the shooting unfolded. Roberson, Liggins, Smart, Thomas, and Alford each have been identified from surveillance footage from inside Parkway Gardens homes on the south side of Chicago, from which they departed to murder Weekly, and to which Roberson, Liggins, and Thomas returned after the murder. Alford, who had just purchased his Ford Fusion on July 28, 2020, returned it to the dealership immediately after the murder, but along with Smart, was picked up from the dealership by a former girlfriend. The 5 of them have been identified in the surveillance video by friends, a security guard at Parkway Gardens, girlfriends, fellow gang members, and rival gang members as other witnesses. Turpin was captured on audio and video confessing to what he had done inside Milena's boutique, although Turpin did not know he was being recorded. O-Block is a street gang and criminal enterprise suited in Parkway Gardens on the south side of Chicago. O-Block is a faction of a larger black disciple street gang. Parkway Gardens is a fenced-in apartment complex consisting of approximately 35 buildings and is located between approximately 33rd, 63rd Street and 66th Street on South Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. Because Parkway Gardens is fenced in and employs security guards at various checkpoints, O-Block members and black disciples from neighboring allied factions have described Parkway Gardens as a fortress and headquarters. This setup makes it difficult for opposing gang members to easily ambush O-Block members. O-Block is comprised of members who engage in violent criminal acts, including murder and assault. O-Block is also comprised of drug dealers. Some O-Block members make drill music, often brag about their criminal activities, publicly claiming responsibility for acts of violence committed by O-Block, taunting rival gang members and mocking opposing gang members and their associates who have been murdered. O-Block members also use social media platforms to promote O-Block and disparage their rivals. At times material to the investigation and a superseding indictment, O-Block had meetings where O-Block businesses were discussed, including acts of violence committed against O-Block members and violence to be committed against O-Block rivals. For example, Cooperator 1, a black disciple initiated through the Newtontown faction but lived in Parkway Gardens from approximately 2006 or 2007 to 2011. And continued to be active as a black disciple while living in Parkway Gardens, may testify at trial. If Cooperator 1 is called to testify at trial, the government expects the Cooperator will testify that he lived in Parkway Gardens. O-Block members. O-Block was called Wick City at that time. Would have weekly and bi-weekly meetings where $20 dues were paid at each meeting. If a member did not pay the dues, that member would be charged interest for unpaid dues. The money was pooled together for various purposes, including memorials and funerals for deceased members, bond money for members, and purchasing of firearms. Cooperator 1 continued to live close to Parkway Gardens after moving out of Parkway Gardens in 2011. Cooperator 2, a current O-Block member, may also testify at trial if called to testify at trial. The government expects Cooperator 2 will testify that he moved to Parkway Gardens in the late 2000s and became an O Block member approximately 2007. Cooperator 2 will testify that O Block members continue to have meetings and that only shooters and drug dealers are invited to the meetings. Cooperator 2 has been to meetings where firearms and narcotics were distributed to O Block members. Cooperator 2 will testify that at times material to the superseding indictment, O Block has structured a hierarchy and rules that O Block members were expected to abide by. Both Cooperator 1 and Cooperator 2 will testify that O Block members may have received a violation if they did not abide by the rules, including but not limited to an organized beating, and that violations for O Block members were discussed at meetings. Cooperator 2 will testify that at times material to the superseding indictment that the leaders of O Block were Boss Top, known to law enforcement as Individual A, Duke, known to law enforcement as Individual B, BJ, known to law enforcement as Individual C, defendant Charles Liggins, and Davon Bennett, aka King Von. When he was alive, Bennett was murdered in Atlanta, Georgia on or about November 6, 2020. Cooperator 1 and Cooperator 2 may testify that defendant Marcus Smart began to emerge as a leader within O Block after Bennett was murdered. According to Cooperator 2, Smart kept the fund of commissary and bond for incarcerated O Block members, but Smart wouldn't necessarily collect the money at the meetings. Smart would go around every week or every other week and collect $100 from O Block members. According to Cooperator 2, this has been going on in O Block forever. The government expects Cooperator 1, if called, will testify that O Block members made their money by committing burglaries and robberies and by selling drugs when he lived in Parkway Gardens. According to Cooperator 1, O Block members controlled the drug trade inside Parkway Gardens when he lived there and continue to do so today. According to Cooperator 1, O Block members would use vacant apartments to store firearms and narcotics, and no one could sell drugs outside of Parkway Gardens without the permission of O Block members. The government expects that if called, Cooperator 2 will testify that marijuana, pills, and heroin are distributed in those meetings. Cooperator 2 personally has seen O Block members selling heroin and marijuana in Parkway Gardens, and Cooperator 2 himself was a drug dealer. O Block members are generally the only people who can sell drugs in Parkway Gardens, and O Block members enforce that. However, according to Cooperator 2, other people who are not O Block members can come into Parkway Gardens to sell if they pay a percentage. According to Cooperator 2, O Block members are expected to shoot at opposing gang members, and that is the only way to rise through the ranks of O Block outside of having a lot of money from selling drugs or making music. Killers have more respect within O Block than people who just shoot, and killing a higher profile opposing member, often referred to as an op, will increase status within O Block even more. Cooperator 2 lived in Parkway Gardens and was active as a younger O Block member. Back then, O Block was still called Wick City. O.D. Perry, an O Block member, was murdered by STL member Jerika Barnes on August 11, 2011. STL member Cooperator 3, who may testify at trial, will testify if called that Jakara was his sister, and he has first-hand knowledge that she murdered Perry. Thereafter, Cooperator 2 will testify Wick City became known as O Block in O.D. Perry's memory. The antagonism between O Block and STL increased after Perry's murder. Cooperator 2 will testify that O Block members were expected to shoot and kill at STL members in order to maintain or increase their status within O Block, and that killing a higher profile STL member would substantially increase an O Block member's status. If an O Block member did not shoot at the ops, that person would from then be treated like a goofy, which is to say, at minimum, that person's status would decrease. Cooperator 3 will testify that he has witnessed murders committed by an O Block member in STL territory. Specifically, the government expects that Cooperator 3 will testify that he witnessed the murder of Dale Fisher, aka Squirrel, in STL territory in December 2011. According to Cooperator 3, Fisher was not a gang member but lived in STL territory. Fisher was murdered by O Block member T. Roy, known to law enforcement as James T. Johnson, and 600 member D. Rose, known to law enforcement as Individual D. As explained in further details below, 600 is a Black Disciple faction allied with O Block. Cooperator 3 was also present for and witnessed the murder of his sister Jakara Barnes by O Block member Davon Bennett in STL territory on April 14, 2014. Cooperator 3 was also shot by Bennett during that incident. Cooperator 3 was able to escape and saw Johnson waiting for him at the end of the alley he was about to run through, so instead Cooperator 3 was able to wait until Bennett and Johnson left before leaving. Corroborator 3 observed Bennett stand over Bonds and shoot her multiple times. Witness 1, who may testify at trial, also observed this murder. Witness 1 later saw Bennett come back to the neighborhood after the murder and state in a threatening manner that Bennett was from O Block. Corroborator 3 may testify that O Block member Individual A antagonized Corroborator 3 after Bonds' murder during a FaceTime call with Individual A, claiming to be the one who drove the shooters to STL territory. Corroborator 2 will testify if called that O Block is clicked up or allied with several neighboring Black Disciple factions. O Block has been clicked up since Corroborator 2 became an O Block member. Corroborator 2 will testify that O Block later became clicked up with Lamron, 64th Street and Normal Boulevard in the early 2010s, and THF, which stands for Trigger Happy Family, sometimes referred to as THF 46 and THF 44 shortly thereafter. If a gang faction is clicked up with another gang faction, they work together and inherit and adapt each other's conflicts. So if 600 or THF is clicked up with O Block, 600 and THF will also be in conflict with STL. On July 10th, 2020, Weekly released a song entitled Dead Bitches. According to a number of witnesses who will testify, including Corroborator 2, rappers from STL and rappers from O Block 600 and Lamron will often disparage the other side in their music. Dead Bitches, however, was particularly blistering this record. In the song, Weekly raps in a disrespectful manner about the number of dead O Block members, including O.D. Perry, T. Roy Johnson, Keita, and Sherrod Liggins, defendant Liggins' younger brother. The government expects Corroborator 2 and others will identify and name the individual disrespected in the song at trial. As of August 4th, 2020, Deadbeats has almost 4 million views on YouTube. Weekly currently has approximately 430,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel. At trial, the government's evidence will establish that Charles Liggins, Kenneth Roberson, to Carlos Alford, Christopher Thomas, and Marcus Smart conspired with each other and other members to murder Weekly for the purpose of maintaining and increasing their position in O Block, an enterprise engaged in racketeering activity. At trial, the government's evidence will also establish that Ralph Turpin aided and abetted Weekly's murder and the conspiracy to murder Weekly. As set forth below, the evidence that established the existence of the VCAR conspiracy meets the preponderance of evidence standard applicable to the stages of the proceedings. Below, the government has summarized some of the evidence that will be presented at trial regarding the existence of the charged conspiracy. According to video surveillance footage from several businesses along East Oak Street, Chicago PD POD camera footage, cell phone video recorded by a security guard at a store working on East Oak Street, which captured defendant Ralph Turpin speaking on the cell phone, and Witness 2, who may testify at trial. Witness 2 and Turpin traveled to East Oak Street on the afternoon of August 4th, 2020 to buy clothes for Witness 2's children. According to Victim 2 and video surveillance footage, Victim 2 and Weekly also traveled to East Oak Street to purchase some presents for Weekly's son's birthday. Victim 2, who drove Weekly to East Oak Street that day, waited outside in her vehicle parked on the street while Weekly shopped inside of their first stop for the afternoon, Melania Boutique, located on 50 East Oak Street. According to the owners of the Melania Boutique, who may testify at trial, Melania is a boutique that sells children's clothing, and Weekly has shopped at the store before. At approximately 3:59 p.m., while Weekly was inside of Melania, Turpin and Witness 2 entered into Melania. While Turpin and Weekly were both still inside of Melania, Turpin placed at least one phone call to alert others, including the named defendants, that Weekly was inside of Melania, and the government will introduce evidence at trial of Turpin recounting this conversation minutes later, unaware that he was being recorded. Minutes later, at approximately 4:02 p.m., the other 5 named defendants began scrambling in Parkway Gardens to make their way downtown to murder Weekly. Specifically, at approximately 4:02 p.m., Smart ran across a parking lot away from where Officer's Black Ford Fusion was parked and ran up a flight of stairs. Smart ran past a group of 3 people by the stairwell, which included Roberson. Roberson then turned and ran up the stairwell after Smart. After a few minutes, Smart ran down the stairwell wearing different clothes, dressed in all black. Thomas ran down next, dressed in all black, including a black striped Adidas jacket, and putting a baseball cap onto his head, followed by Roberson, who was wearing the same clothes he was wearing when he went up the stairs. Leggings came down last, also dressed in a dark colored clothing and a baseball cap turned to the back. Smart entered into Alfred's Ford Fusion while Leggings, Thomas, and Robeson entered into Robeson's gray Chrysler 300. The cars departed the parking lot in Parkway Gardens at approximately 4:06 p.m. The Chicago PD license plate reader and multiple Chicago Police Department police observation devices, POD, and POD cameras captured the Chrysler and the Fusion traveling from Parkway Gardens to East Oak Street at multiple points traveling in tandem. Robeson Chrysler 300 was registered to Robeson on the day of the murder, and Alfred's Ford Fusion was registered to Alfred on the day of the murder. Based on the time and the number of data points, at least one license plate reader, 11 POD cameras on the way to commit the murder, and private surveillance footage, and the path that the vehicles traveled, I-90-94 to Lakeshore Drive. The path and the timing is consistent with the vehicles traveling directly from Parkway Gardens to East Oak Street without making any stops. This is corroborated by data from Robeson's cell phone. The data from Robeson's cell phone is consistent with Robeson traveling from Parkway Gardens directly to East Oak Street at the same time of the murder, and then back to Parkway Gardens right after the murder. According to corroborator 4, who may testify at trial, the information retrieved from corroborator 4's cell phone, Robeson and corroborator 4 were exchanging text messages while Robeson was traveling to Murder Weekly, and shortly after Robeson and his co-conspirators had murdered Weekly. Specifically, corroborator 4 and Robeson were exchanging text messages because corroborator 4 was attempting to return a firearm to Robeson at 4:19 p.m., while POD camera footage would show that Robeson was on Lakeshore Drive nearing East Oak Street, which is corroborated by Robeson's cell phone data. Robeson texted corroborator 4 to take the gun to Parkway Gardens because they were on duck right now, meaning on the way to kill Weekly. Weekly exited Milena and entered into victim's 2 vehicle at approximately 4:04 p.m. as stated below. Smart, Leggings, Robeson, Thompson, and Alfred appeared to have received some news at approximately 4:02 p.m. and left Parkway Gardens at approximately 4:06 p.m., traveling directly towards Weekly's location on East Oak Street. Weekly and victim 2 pulled away from the curb in front of Millennials at approximately 4:05 p.m., returning minutes later and parking in front of Dolce & Gabbana. Dolce & Gabbana, located at 68th East Oak Street, is on the same side of the street as Millenia. Turpin exited Millenia without witness 2. At approximately 4:07 p.m., Turpin entered into a clothing store down and across the street, Montclair, located at 33 East Oak Street at approximately 4:10 p.m. Turpin discussed what had occurred inside Millenia while speaking on the phone inside Montclair. Because Turpin was speaking in a wild and agitated state, a security guard inside of Montclair began to record him. The security guard, witness 3, who may testify at trial, began recording Turpin at 4:13 p.m. Turpin asked someone that he was speaking to on the phone what's D-Thing's number, and went on to tell the person to whom Turpin was speaking to have D-Thing call him. Turpin. Multiple witnesses are expected to testify that D-Thing is Dante Banks Jr., the older brother of Individual E. Multiple witnesses will testify that Individual E is a high-ranking black disciple and, at times, material to the superseding indictment, was and is a part of Black Disciple faction, allied with O-Block Lamron. Dante Banks Jr., aka D-Thing, was murdered on or about June 6, 2021. Minutes later, Turpin began discussing a woman whom Turpin did not name specifically, but who Turpin referenced as being in a romantic relationship with Weekly and having Weekly around Turpin's children. Turpin described the woman as bogus and went on to state, "It's over with now." Witness 4, who may testify at trial, identified Turpin in the video as her child's father. Witness 4 also acknowledged that she had been in a romantic relationship with Weekly, but was not at the time of Weekly's murder. Should Witness 4 testify at trial, the government expects Witness 4 will testify that she was heartbroken upon learning of Weekly's death because she loved Weekly. Witness 4 will also testify that after Weekly's murder, she received a text message from Turpin that contained simply 3 laughing emojis. Witness 4 will testify that she was not in regular contact with Turpin, as her child has a cell phone allowing Turpin and her child to communicate directly. Witness 5, who also known Turpin for many years and who may testify at trial, will testify that prior to August 4, 2020, Turpin did not like Weekly over jealousy, stemming from Weekly's relationship with Witness 4. While Turpin was discussing the unnamed woman, Turpin received an incoming phone call from a telephone number associated with D-Thing. Based upon Turpin's cell phone records, Turpin other phone calls inside of Montclair and Melania would have likely been video calls as opposed to calls using a telephone number. However, this call from telephone number associated with THIS was actually a telephone call. Turpin answered the phone call from the number associated with THIS at 4:18 p.m. Turpin told the caller that he and witness 2 saw Weekly inside of Melania. Turpin told the caller that Turpin had people on the phone and on the way downtown while he and Weekly and witness 2 were still inside of Melania Boutique. Turpin then told the caller that when Weekly left Melania, he followed Weekly outside and reported as much to Badass, known to law enforcement as THF member and the individual F. According to Turpin, Badass then told Turpin to see what kind of car Weekly was getting into. Turpin then told the caller that Turpin was standing outside of Melania when Weekly pulled off, and after walking up the street a little bit, someone began chasing Turpin down the street with a gun. Witness teammates testified at trial that in the above exchange, Turpin was providing Weekly's location. Turpin eventually stood across the street from Weekly on the phone for several minutes until Weekly was murdered at 4:26 p.m., walking over to Weekly to get a better view after Weekly had been gunned down. According to video surveillance, Officer Fusion and Roberson Chrysler 300 arrived at Dolce & Gabbana at approximately 4:26 p.m., with the Chrysler trailing the Fusion. 2 people, including Smart, exited from the passenger side of the Fusion and started shooting at Weekly while Weekly was standing on the sidewalk. Weekly and victim 1, who was in line behind Weekly, ran away from the shooter, circled around the back of the victim's 2's car, and attempted to hide, but the shooters aggressively pursued Weekly. According to victim 2, she picked up Weekly's gun and she shot at the individual who exited from Officer Fusion. This detail is not public and is significant for reasons that follow. Liggins and Thomas then exited from the passenger side of Roberson Chrysler, the rear passenger. Thomas stood over and shot at Weekly while Weekly was on the ground. The shooting lasted about 12 seconds in total, but the shooters fired 38 times, hitting Weekly 16 times, victim 2 twice, and victim 1 3 times. The shooters got back into their respective vehicles and Roberson Chrysler pulled away from the scene first, followed by Officer Fusion. Officer purchased the Ford Fusion from Midway Auto Hall in Bridgeville, Illinois on July 28, 2020. On the date of the purchase, Officer was accompanied by Witness 6. Witness 6 may testify at trial. It's Officer's ex-girlfriend and the mother of one of Officer's children. Officer lied about his employment on the financing application for the vehicle. And Witness 6 is expected to testify Officer manufactured pay stubs in order to create the impression that he was employed. This was discovered on or about August 3, 2020, prompting Officer to begin a text message exchange with an employee of Midway Auto Hall on that day, continuing through August 4, 2020. Witness 6 will testify that she assisted Officer in negotiating what to say to Midway Auto Hall in terms of Officer returning the vehicle, and that Officer planned to return that car on August 4, 2020. According to her phone call records and photographs of the car dealership employee text messages, at 4:35 p.m., approximately 9 minutes after the murder, Officer texted the car dealership employee that Officer was on his way to return that car to the dealership. Witness 6 will testify that Officer spent the night at her house on the night of August 3rd, morning of August 4th, and that she and Officer had discussed that she would give Officer a ride from the dealership when he was ready. Witness 6 will testify that she received a phone call from Officer the afternoon of August 4th, awakening her from a nap, telling Witness 6, 1, that Officer was on his way to the dealership, 2, to meet him at the dealership, 3, to text him the address of the dealership. Shortly after, Witness 6 tested Officer the address in the dealership at 4:39 p.m. Witness 6 arrived at the dealership at approximately 5:15 p.m., beating Officer to the dealership. Officer arrived 10 to 15 minutes later. Officer arrived at the dealership with Smart and Officer's cousin, Ezel Rawls. Officer then directed Witness 6 to drop Officer, Smart, and Rawls off at a different O-Block member's residence, which she did. Rawls died by suicide on or about August 24, 2020. Witness 6 identified individual G in photos as O-Block member. After Officer instructed Witness 6 to take him, Smart, and Rawls to individual G's house, the three did not speak for the remainder of the ride. In approximately late August or early September 2021, Witness 6 became aware of a video that a blogger made and uploaded to YouTube indicating in summary that Officer was involved in Weekly's murder, purporting to include police scanner audio from August 4, 2020, relating to Officer's Ford's Fusion, and music that Officer had made. Someone texted the video to Witness 6. Witness 6 asked Officer about the video. Arthur responded to witness 6 that people were preying on his downfall, that they hoped he'd get locked up so that they could have sex with his current girlfriend, that Arthur did not know nothing, and that he didn't want to talk on the phone about it. In a later conversation, after witness 6 indicated to Arthur that she had been contacted by law enforcement, Arthur told witness 6 that she don't know nothing, which witness 6 understood to mean that Arthur did not want witness 6 to tell law enforcement where she dropped Arthur off at on August 4th, 2020. After murdering Weekly, Roberson continued his text message exchange with Cooperator 4 about Weekly, at this point gloating, specifically at 4:40 p.m. while Roberson was still driving back to Parkway Gardens. Roberson texted Cooperator 4 to check spot news at 5:20 p.m. After Roberson had arrived at Parkway Gardens, Roberson sent Cooperator 4 a link to a news story about Weekly's murder. Cooperator 4 will testify that several days later, Roberson met with Cooperator 4 and confessed to Cooperator 4 in person to having participated in the murder. However, in the version of the events Roberson relayed to Cooperator 4, Roberson embellished his role, describing himself as a shooter, which is inconsistent with the surveillance video. According to Cooperator 4, Roberson told Cooperator 4 that Roberson was in the back seat and fell as he got out to start shooting. Roberson told Cooperator 4 that Roberson started shooting from the street and a woman started shooting back at him. So see murder, meaning Leggins shot her, as stated below. This details about the offense is not public. Roberson made the following additional statements to Cooperator 4 about the offense. 1. The defendant used Roberson Chrysler 300 to commit the murder, and there was more than one car used to commit the murder. 2. That 3 or 4 people murdered Weekly, but C. Murder was the only name that Cooperator 4 remembered. That Chicago PD seized Roberson Chrysler after the murder. That Dipset, a gang faction where Roberson is from originally, is clinked up with O-Block, and as a result is in conflict with STL, where Weekly is from. Roberson indicated that this is part of the reason why Roberson participated in the murder. That O-Block member Davon Bennett had placed a hit on Weekly prior to the murder, and this is additionally why Roberson participated in the murder. That C. Murder offered Roberson an O-Block chain after they murdered Weekly and told Roberson that Roberson might as well become O-Block, but Roberson turned the O-Block chain down because Roberson's from Dipset. At approximately 9:56 a.m. on the day after the murder, witness 7, who may testify at trial, sent Roberson a link to a news story about the murder via Instagram. Witness 7 followed up her message by writing to Roberson, "I know you ain't take your car to do this shit." In response, Roberson twice instructed Witness 7 to unsend that shit. Witness 7 will testify that she saw a news article of a Chrysler similar to the one Roberson being used to commit Weekly's murder, and she knew that Roberson and Weekly did not get along, which is what prompted her to message Roberson. Witness 7 asked Roberson to call her via Apple FaceTime, which he did. When they spoke, Roberson asked Witness 7 why she sent him that message and why she thought Roberson used his car to commit a murder. Roberson then indicated that he did not know what Witness 7 was talking about, and the two changed the subject. Chicago PD had, in fact, seized Roberson Chrysler on August 5, 2020 in the aftermath of Weekly's murder after securing a search warrant for the Chrysler. During the search of the Chrysler, CBD recovered contact information for Leggins from inside the Chrysler that appeared to have been written by Leggins. My number, 1773-557-6775, IG O-Block, C Murder, etc. Chicago PD also recovered a spent .357 shell case from the passenger side of the Chrysler, resting in between the windshield and the hood. According to Karen Tucker, who had been disclosed as an expert in firearms tool marks examination, that the spent .357 shell case recovered from the Chrysler and the sold .357 shell case recovered from the scene of the murder were fired from the same gun. Thereafter, Roberson and one of his girlfriends at the time, Witness 8, called Chicago PD to have the Chrysler returned to Roberson. Witness 8, who may testify at trial, will identify the Chrysler and pictures that Chicago Police Department took after CBD seized the Chrysler as Roberson Chrysler 300. Witness 8 will testify of call that she called CPD at Roberson direction on behalf to have the Chrysler returned to her. Witness 8 will testify that CPD informed her that only the registered owner, Roberson, could get the car. Witness 8 then lied to CPD, indicating that she had power of attorney over Roberson affairs in order to get the car and return to her on Roberson's behalf. CPD Sergeant George Rivera, who may testify at trial, will testify if called that witness 8 called him at least 12 times inquiring about the Chrysler 300 from August 6, 2020 to August 7, 2020. Sergeant Riviere will also testify that Roberson called Sergeant Riviere asking that the car be released to witness 8 on August 7, 2020 and August 11, 2020. On August 7, 2020, Sergeant Riviere indicated to Roberson that Roberson would need to come to CBD, show identification, and fill out a form in order to get the Chrysler 300. Roberson told Sergeant Riviere that Roberson was out of town. Roberson never retrieved the Chrysler 300 from CPD. On or about October 14, 2021, after the defendant had been arrested on the indictment, Liggins spoke to an acquaintance believed to be individual H, based on a telephone number called and the subject of the conversation via a jail call. During the call, Liggins instructed the person he called to tell Duke that everyone needed to get new phones. Liggins went on to discuss the murder with the person he called, describing the case as weak. Specifically, Liggins indicated that law enforcement had shown him a video of a crime scene and the shooters' faces could not be seen because they were wearing masks. Liggins went on to state that video of him and his co-defendants, whom he did not name specifically, going up and down the stairs in Parkway Gardens ain't nothing. Several members of O Block wore gold necklaces with diamond-encrusted gold pendants at the time, relevant to a conspiracy to murder Weekly. Specifically, several members wore O Block chains in the months leading up to Weekly's murder, and several more members began wearing O Block chains in the weeks and months that followed Weekly's murder. The O Block chains were purchased from and manufactured by Icebox Diamond & Watches in Atlanta, Georgia, at various points throughout the calendar year 2020. According to an Icebox representative and co-worker, Witness 9, Davon Bennett, purchased the O Block chains on Davon Bennett's account throughout 2020. Specifically, Bennett spent $128,000 on an O Block pendant in 2020. On or about January 24, 2020, Bennett purchased an O Block pendant that he wore for $30,000. Bennett pendant was approximately 5 times larger or more expensive than the pendants he purchased for other O Block members later in the year. On or about July 2, 2020, Bennett ordered 5 O Block pendants for $6,000 each, which he picked up on August 7, 2020. Bennett ordered 5 more O Block pendants on July 9, 2020 for $6,000 each, which he picked up on August 14, 2020. Bennett ordered 2 more O Block pendants on August 14, 2020. An additional one on August 28, 2020, and an additional one on September 6, 2020, and an additional one on September 28, 2020. Bennett also ordered at least one pendant that read THF on September 17, 2020 for $8,000. The backside of Bennett's pendants contain additional references to O Block, including the names of deceased O Block members underneath the words "Long Live," including Keita, O.D., Patton, Sherrod, J Money, and T. Roy. The back of Bennett's pendant also contained multiple references to 64 Main and 64th Street, South King Drive, where Parkway Gardens is located. Bennett's pendant also states O Block for life. On or about August 10, 2020, 6 days after the murder, Smart was present inside of Icebox Diamond & Watches with Bennett shopping for additional O Block pendants. Liggins, Office, Smart, and Thomas have each publicly posted pictures of themselves wearing O Block chains. For example, on or about August 9, 2020, Liggins posted a picture to his Instagram account of him wearing an O Block chain. On or about August 28, 2020, Smart posted a picture of his Instagram account of him wearing an O Block chain. On or about September 22, 2020, Thomas posted stories on his Instagram account of Thomas wearing an O Block chain. On or about June 20, 2021, the user of a YouTube account, Loso64, uploaded a music video for a song Never Change performed by Alfred, with Alfred wearing an O Block chain. Witness 6 identified the person performing this music video as Alfred. However, Witness 6 indicated that, according to Alfred, Alfred did not own his own O Block chain, and he had instead borrowed one to shoot his music video. When Liggins and Smart were arrested for the charges in the indictment and superseding indictment, both were in possession of O Block chains. The rear of Liggins' O Block pendant reads "See Murder" at the top, an alias for Liggins. "Long Live the Guys" on the left side, and Sherrod Squad 1992 to 2012 at the bottom, for the reasons stated above. Sherrod Squad 1992 to 2012 is a reference to Sherrod's younger brother, Sherrod Liggins. According to reports from the Chicago Police Department, Sherrod C. Liggins was born on November 2021, 1992, and murdered on February 16, 2012, near 6421 South King Drive in Chicago. The real Smart O Block chain reads "Muwap" at the top, an alias for Smart, and the names of deceased O Block members, including Johnson, sometimes referred to as T. Roy. At all times material to the allegations in the superseding indictment, members of O Block have publicly claimed membership in or associated with O Block on various social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Liggins, Roberson, Alford, Thomas, and Smart have all either claimed membership in O Block on social media or posted some association with O Block on social media at times material to the superseding indictment. In June, July, and August 2020, Liggins' Instagram and Facebook displayed names with O Block C Murder Instagram and C Murder O Block Facebook, for example. In the header of Roberson's Instagram profile, Roberson referenced O Block and other Black Disciple faction clicked up with O Block, including 300 Lamron and 600. Thomas' Instagram username and Facebook display name also both contain references to O Block and time periods before and immediately after the murder. An Office song Never Changed referenced above on page 46. Office states multiple times throughout the song chorus, O Block, Moon Gang, this shit will never change. Office username for his Instagram account is 6low-4. As stated above, 64 is a common reference among O Block members to 64th and South King Drive, where Parkwood Gardens is located. As referenced above on page 44, Smart's Instagram profile is Muwap from the O, as Muwap from O Block, and depicts Smart wearing an O Block necklace in multiple posts. Many O Block members have O Block tattooed on themselves. Witness 6 will testify at trial that Alfred has an O Block tattoo. Davon Bennett had both O Block and 600 tatted on himself. They're just trying to establish that's their gang. All the statements identified above as having been made by defendants Liggins, Roberson, Alford, Thomas, Smart, and Turpin, whether orally to another person, such as Witness 4, Witness 6, and Witness 7, or Cooperator 4 via text messages or social media, are admissible in evidence as admissible by a party opponent under Rule 801 D-2-8. Via text message or social media are admissible in evidence as admissions by a party opponent under Rule 801 D-2A. However, many of these statements were also made during the course of and in furtherance of a VCAR conspiracy to murder Weekly and maintain or increase position in O Block. The statement between the co-conspirators and to others outside of the conspiracy in furtherance of VCAR conspiracy to murder Weekly fall into a number of categories, all concerning subjects intangible to the conspiracy and its success, and to the further of the objective of O Block as an enterprise. These statements will be introduced through the testimony of witnesses, including but not limited to those noted above. Other individuals who will be compelled to testify, consensually recorded in person, appearances, and telephone recordings, including recordings referenced throughout this submission, as well as recorded jail telephone calls involving the defendants, their associates, and their unindicted co-conspirators. Given the context and numbers of such statements made in this case, the government does not and cannot detail each and every proposed co-conspirator statement of each witness or document, nor does Santiago or the Seventh Circuit Court proceedings require the government to set forth the specific verbatim co-conspirator statement. Instead, the Seventh Court Circuit has specifically stated that categories of statements such as those set forth below suffices. See United States versus McKellen. The statements it intends to introduce and the rejecting defendant's request that the government be required to specifically identify each statement by a co-conspirator it intends to introduce. Nevertheless, the government has provided numerous specific examples of co-conspirator statements here. The co-conspirator statements offered at trial will concern the subjects listed below and include but not limited to the co-conspirator statements discussed above. Statements made by Roberson corroborated for that Roberson and his co-conspirators were on their way to murder Weekly in order to publicly take credit for an act of violence against a rival gang member and maintain or increase his position in O Block. Statements made by Roberson to Cooperator 4 in the immediate aftermath for Roberson and his co-conspirators having just murdered Weekly, including directing Cooperator 4 to check Spot News and sending Cooperator 4 a link to a news story regarding Weekly's murder in order to publicly take credit for an act of violence against a rival gang member and maintain or increase their position in O Block. Roberson confessing days later to Cooperator 4, including who was with Roberson, and even embellishing his own role in the murder, in order to publicly take credit for an act of violence against a rival gang member and maintain or increase their position in O Block. Statements made by Alfred to witness 6 on the day of Weekly's murder, including the Alfred was on his way to Midway Auto Hall and needed a ride from the dealership. B. To take Alfred to his co-conspirators to individual G's residence. 3. Statements made by Alfred to the employee for Midway Auto Hall on the day of Weekly's murder, including that Alfred was on his way to the dealership in order to return him for a fusion for the purpose of concealment and to avoid detection by law enforcement by getting rid of the vehicle he had just used to murder Weekly. 4. Statements made by Robeson to witness 7 for the purpose of concealment, including directing witness 7 to unsend a message to Robeson regarding Robeson having used his own vehicle to commit Weekly's murder. 5. Statements made by Robeson to witness 8 for the purpose of concealment, including directing witness 8 to call CPD to get back the Chrysler that Robeson and his co-conspirators used to commit Weekly's murder. B. Statements witness 8 made on Robeson's behalf in order to try to get the Chrysler back from CPD. Statements Robeson himself made to CPD to get the Chrysler back from Chicago Police Department after witness 8 efforts had failed. 6. Statements made by Liggins to individual H for the purpose of concealment, including A. Directing individual H to tell Duke to tell everyone to get new phones in the immediate aftermath of Liggins' arrest, as in evident from the category descriptions. All such statements made by co-conspirators further the conspiracy, thus, under the case law summarized above. All such statements are properly admitted at trial as co-conspirators, and statements under FEUD are evaded. Conclusion. The above is an outline of evidence that the government will introduce to establish that the charged conspiracy existed. Based upon this proffer, the government respectfully requests that the court find that the category of co-conspirator statements listed above, as well as co-conspirator statements like them, are admissible pending the introduction of evidence to support this proffer. Man, I tell y'all all the time, yo, this is what beef is, yo. Beef is ugly, it's stressful, there's nothing fun about it, man. People die, people go to jail, people go to prison. And that's what we saying in this situation, yo, when you're dealing with O Block and STL, man. So many lives been lost, man. And once wars start, once beef start, it's a never-ending cycle, man. Never-ending cycle, yo. That's why the old saying still applies, yo. You can't beef and get money. It's impossible. You gotta pick a lane, man. If you're in the lane of beefing, you might as well throw money out the door because it's not gonna work. That's why we see King Von and where he at right now. That's how we see, even with the other side, FBG Duck, he was on his way. But he wanted to beef. But he wanted to rap and get money. Like I said, it never mixes. It never mixes, yo. And this is sad and unfortunate, yo, that all these black males, because that's what they are, all lost their life over nonsense, foolishness, ping pong. That's what we call it, man. Back and forth retaliatory violence. You kill my man, I kill yours. The cycle never ends. And it's messed up, y'all. A lot of people told. A lot of people thought they was built for it. And then once the pressure started really getting applied to them, they burst. They burst, man. Because this is what really happens, yo, when you really out there like that, yo. Like, it's not really, it's ugly, yo. It's grimy, man. And it's unfortunate, yo, at the same time, yo. And I want some condolences, yo, to all the lives lost in this beef between O Block and STL, man. Hopefully one day they can come to some type of resolve, yo. But like I said, yo, once bodies get to dropping, yo, you got decade years of bloodshed. I don't know what it's gonna take to cure it. I see J-Mane and T Savage trying to do their little thing, but only reason I say that's not really gonna matter is because they not the guys that's in the streets. T Savage not active in the streets right now. J-Mane, I don't think he was ever in the streets. He just might have been in the way, but he could have been there. But even still, we all on the internet. But maybe the right people can listen, yo, and maybe they can make a change, yo. Because like I said, this has got to stop, yo, because it's disgusting and it's ugly, yo. And nobody wins, man. Nobody wins in war, yo. even the wins feel like losses because you done lost so much. And let me tell y'all another thing too, y'all, because I've been hearing this on the internet. A lot of people is wondering because they're saying that FBG Butta is one of these cooperators, and a lot of people is wondering that if he been told, why King Von didn't get arrested. You know, that's a question going around the internet. And I'm answering that for y'all today because the reason why King Von never got charged with KI murder, even though FBG Butta been told, you know, they still got to investigate. And at the end of the day, FBG Butta's not a credible witness. This man been locked up for murder himself. You heard him in the earlier clip talking about he told on his sister to get off another murder. So he wasn't a credible witness, man. So yeah, even when it come down to Duck, I don't even think King Von would have got charged for this. Because from everything we know, there's no real evidence. Muwap ain't telling on him. Nobody told the FBI specifically that King Von dropped the money. The FBI got that evidence from a witness that supposedly told them that King Von had some money on the line. But it never was verified. So I don't even think King Von would have got charged for FBG Duck murder. Straight up, I really don't. But I just wanted to throw that out there, yo, because it's a lot being said, and a lot of people are still confused as to, you know, Butta situation and his role and how was he able to tell on King Von and King Von wasn't arrested. And a lot of people think that King Von would have got caught in this indictment, even though his name is mentioned, just like Dirk's name is mentioned. I don't think King Von would have got charged. Not unless they got some more evidence, not unless one of them came out to the FBI and wrote a statement and said King Von dropped money. They don't got that in this case. So at least that's not what we heard in this documents because it's still more information. I just think these documents was to show the judge that we do have a case. Now, we're not going to give y'all our whole case, but we're going to give y'all the parameters to let you know we do have a case right here. So we ain't just playing. We ain't just bluffing. But then you got FBG Duck, yo, basically lost his life because of jealousy. And that's why this old block ship that Muwap and them was on suck like this because they shouldn't have never even moved off of THF-THZ word because they didn't have the same intentions involved. Muwap and them was chasing money. This man was chasing jealousy. And that's why I went how I went for all these guys, man. The man placed a phone call in the store, yo, loud. That just let you know how much hatred he had toward Duck, man. He couldn't even control himself. He's sitting there talking about murders or trying to get somebody set up in a store full of people. Excited. For nothing because his baby mother chose. And she still chose because it looked like to me, she's ready to testify on that man. And this is, like I say, yo, it's a lot to talk about, yo. So many layers to peel back, yo. And like I say, yo, everybody lost. But let me know how y'all feel about us in the comments. This is Keep It G News. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel.
You be dreaming about your dreams. I be living out my nightmares. I be missing out in bed. The other night she was right there. I be lurking with my bros. I be crying with my mom.